We're taking these brakes from this to this, DIY at home with these materials because we're bringing this render to reality. An important part of that to tie this all together. We have the wing, now it's time to do the last final color detail and have a bright poppy gloss yellow with a Brembo sticker on the brake calipers to just make this thing look amazing and snap necks everywhere we go. I did this 6 years ago, simple version. 6 years later, we're doing an updated version. You could do this on any car to get this type of finish. So if you're a DIY guy at home like me, this is a great video for you. Let's dive into every detail and get this job done over the course of a day and a half. Let's go over these materials that I'm predicting to need to use. Here's a wire brush if we need it. We're definitely gonna need some painter's tape. We have plastic for the car, plastic for the ground if we want to, paper if we needed to mask things off. I have 800 grit sandpaper as well as much more and different levels of grit, so we'll figure that out as we get into it. Some rags, high temperature VHT primer up to 550 degrees. After that, we have some base coat, some custom color I had made at a spot called Space Age Auto Paint Supply Store here in Phoenix, Arizona. You can find an auto paint store near you. This is the poppiest yellow I could find in their book, so it should look good. We have VHT engine enamel gloss clear up to 550 degrees. And then to finish it off, from the paint store, I got this really nice, I'll have all these linked in the description by the way, even including this one, 2K Clear Glamour 3680061 clear coat. This is what makes it look like a really high quality job in my opinion, is the clear coat at the end looking really good. The sprayer is really nice. You've got this red thing right here to push this part of the aerosol can in. We'll get into that. But these are my predicted items I need to complete this job, and then we have some high temperature Brembo decals that we'll put on at the very end. All the details that I can find are linked in the description, and make sure you watch through the entire episode in case we add or take away some things that we may or may not need as we get more into it. We're gonna prep the rear first, then the front. Step 1, remove the rotor. I need to get the brake caliper out of the way. There's always 2 bolts on the backside holding the caliper on. Sometimes they need a little persuasion. Once I break it loose, I like to throw it on my power ratchet. Speeds things up a lot. I have this little hanger for brake calipers. Since this is a BMW basically, got a Allen head bolt holding the rotor on. Now what I'm gonna do is get ready to clean it. I'm gonna pull out this pad on the side where you can see it because I don't want to get paint on it. I don't even want to tape it off. So you can't really tape in the middle very well. And then I'm gonna put a bolt through the top one and get this thing to hang out up here again. So I'm gonna get it kind of snug-ish so it's easy to clean. I'm gonna hit it with some brake cleaner. Grab one of my rags and just start wiping the obvious areas. Just dripping onto a rag on the floor. What I've started to do is take this Milwaukee like flathead tool that's usually for hammering, use it like a flathead. I put a towel over it, a microfiber. I soak the edge of it, and I use this as like an upgraded finger to get in some of these crevices. And you can just kind of start to hit all the areas you can't get with your hand and just wipe these down until you don't really see any brake dust. It takes forever, but it's all part of the process. Now I have this red 3M duct tape style prep tape. I'm gonna use this to tape off the brake piston. Should take 2 pieces of tape. That's it for the rear. So I have a orbital sander disc 6-inch 320 grit. This is really easy to grab and grip with my glove. So I'm just gonna go ahead and start sanding to create a fresh surface for the primer to adhere to. And this high temperature enamel primer, it grips to pretty much anything. So we've already gone overboard. So I'm just gonna get some of this surface a little rough, clean it off, and then we'll be good to go. It's not that bad, but all these little angles are just the worst part. Then I'll fold it in half and then I can slide it into some of these crevices. I'm feeling good about sanding. Now I'm gonna take this acetone I have in this bottle and just kind of spray it down and then wipe it off. This is a step that I like this duct tape, more sticky adhesive type tape. I'm gonna roll onto itself so it turns into like double-sided tape like when you're in school. Something like this. Then I'm gonna stick a bunch of these all around here. And then when we lay plastic in here, we can just stick it on like a wall. And put the work in on the other side to find the fastest way for you. Voila. When you do this, especially with it a little bit dirty, you need to have very, very tacky tape. This 3M is that. What I use on the rest of the car is just standard masking tape, not sticky enough to work in here. Now my masking film, I'm gonna go a little bit longer than the width of the wheel well. What I found that works really well is this is made for cutting vinyl wrap. Works well for this too. I use this as like a weight to create some tension. I have this big masking film. I'm gonna do around the caliper first to mask off the brake dust deflector in the hub. So I'm gonna pull off the top bolt. What I like to do here is just kind of get up to where you would. Push this back into place. Now I'm gonna take the bottom one out. Gotta just push it behind the dust shield up in that corner and let this sit over it. Now I can pull it tight and wrap this around. Then I'm gonna go underneath and go over this control arm and up over some of these lines. And just use the access to your advantage to cover as much as possible that you don't want paint on. Now I'm gonna pull another piece this wide and we're gonna go here with the film. Then I'm gonna start with pushing it over the rotor, start low. Now I'm gonna push up to the back side. I'm gonna work my way around and try and make best use of the masking film and press these pieces of tape in. And then whatever can go over here, I'll push it out, grab my yellow masking tape and place some pieces on the outside of the vehicle to make sure that this doesn't move. I want to touch this with my finger and make sure there's no like dust or anything. All good. At the end, I'll mask off areas like this and the entire rest of the car. Before we move on to the front though, I'm gonna take little pieces of masking tape and mask off this rubber right here and just wrap pieces around really clean. For this, I like to have two straight edges and then keep them thin. So I'll pull a piece out. I'm gonna tear this up straight across for the most part. Then I'm gonna split it down the middle and then use this straight edge on one side and the other on the other. Using the second piece. Just like that. There's one on the bottom side too. It's not the easiest thing to do, but where the brake pads sit, I try and get some pieces of tape. That way you don't have fitment issues by like a millimeter if you stack on primer and paint. Also on top, don't forget things like this bleeder valve. A lot of the times they have these little covers on them. You can just pull it off with all the other brake pieces. Now for the fun one, the front. The prep is the worst part, but it's also the most important part. First things first, I'm gonna wet down my dirtiest rag with a lot of acetone. And we're gonna wipe out these fender liners somewhat so that tape will stick to them. This is so key. It makes all the difference in anything sticking. And if it doesn't stick, it could fall and ruin your paint job. Okay, that's done. I'm gonna get this little rubber guy off. A little cover for our bleeder valve. Needs a little persuasion and kind of pull it off. There's one on the back side also. Got it. If you don't have one of these headlamps, you need one. I'll have it linked in the description. Next step for these is removing these brake pads that on the Supra happen to be glued in from factory, which is so awesome. You can't hear the sarcasm. To get these pins out, you can push these tabs in and then you can wiggle these out by hand. The little rods. So these usually just slide out, but they don't just slide out. What I'm gonna do is put some tape down so I can pry on this without chingering it. Just top to bottom, work these pads out just to get the glue to release. There goes one. Then I try and get the bracket out of the middle. Okay, got this out of the middle. Now this, see? You can see the glue spots. How crazy. That is no fun. So after this one, they just slide in and out real easy because they're Brembos, and that's the best part about Brembos. But you can break these if you pry too hard, so you just gotta be patient. You can literally hear the adhesive. There we go. Slide out. This one has a wire on it, so I'm gonna go ahead and just set it up top over here. Hook it to itself. Oh, these little pieces of tape are stuck on here. Okay. Where were we? 2 bolts on the back side. I already broke them loose off camera. This can rest there just for the moment. Gotta get the rotor off. Let's slide this back up here. Okay, the one's gonna hold it. Brake cleaner. Get everything loosened up. In these holes, get the bottom, get in these crevices. Let's get the easy stuff. Looking good. What I'm thinking about as I'm doing this is I just swear a majority of the struggle with working on cars is you just end up in your mind by yourself with yourself, and sometimes it's not a fun place to be. I just don't like this is the 4th one. I'm over it. It's just not fun anymore. There's a lot of this like tedious stuff that to clean it out right is taking forever. I'm not gonna cheap out and do a bad job, but oh man, it's just a pain in the butt sometimes. I'm just like, why isn't this more fun? Because I swear during the hard times, you're just hanging out with yourself and you just kind of start to go stir crazy. And that will kind of deter you from taking on projects like this, but you know, you just got to push through, trust the process. We've made it this far, and it'll all work out. This is looking pretty good. Now I need some air. All right, I have my 150 grit. This has got some gnarly high temp clear coat on it, so it doesn't always come off like as quick as regular paint. So I'm just gonna get as much as I can with this, and then we'll get in there by hand. All right, that'll do for the air. This is what we're working with so far. Now I'm just gonna get in all these crevices with some 320 grit by hand. Fold it in half, get in these crevices. Woo! Arms are burning. All right, let's acetone this. Alright, now I'm going to start taping things off, starting with this bleeder valve. Be very careful with this one. I don't want any red showing up. This red tape might work better. Alright, that's good. I'm going to take some big tacky red tape for the piston. I'm gonna make sure to do the ones on this side as well. There's some brake dust up in here I still need to get. Double-sided sticky tape. Now let's cover the hub and the brake dust shield. So for this one, I'm gonna tear a little hole for the ear. So in this corner, I tore a little spot for that. So both sides I can get to the bolt. Now I'm gonna put the top bolt in. Take the bottom one out. I'm gonna take this down here, tore my little deal, fit it back around. Okay, got that back in. I'm gonna wrap this around, all this stuff. Okay, now I got another big piece. So I'm gonna start with the bottom side, wrap it tight around here, and then work my way from the back and then up. Everything's covered. Perfect. Now I can tape the whole car off. just caught a spot. I clearly need to triple check. That's good, that's good. Quite some time has passed and I just did a final walkthrough with this flashlight. Just walking up to each caliper, checking the whole thing. We are ready to paint, my friends. So we're gonna start with the primer. It's 75 degrees in here, which is ideal. Got my headlamp on. Now, we're just gonna do a light coat to get some tackiness going. From all angles on all four. Cracking the garage door, I'm gonna let this dry for a couple minutes and then we're gonna do another coat. Doing the second coat, you can kind of just fill in the old color. We don't want any runs. From here, I'm gonna let it dry for about 30 minutes. Check it with a light, make sure my coverage is even. Then it's time for some base coat. Yellow base coat time. I'm gonna shake this for a couple minutes, literally a couple minutes. I'm gonna do a nice light coat first, let that dry. Trusting the process with this color. The base coat never looks as good as it usually does because it doesn't have clear coat on it yet. I'm going in for the second base coat. It's getting a little smoky. Safety first. They're looking a little lime green, but we gotta trust the process. Set timer for 8 minutes. Little shake again, road to yellow. Okay, this is important. This is our last base coat. I'm gonna take my light and look for areas that I possibly missed. Hit them first and then do a nice coat and then we'll be done. That's good. I'm gonna get rid of this can. We'll let that dry for about 15 minutes. Then we're gonna move on to the high temp clear. High temp clear number 2. Now I'm gonna go for a more wet look, no dripping. time has gone by. You can see a little bit of gloss, a little bit of shine. One more layer of the high temperature, and then it's gonna all pay off when we hit it with this. This is the sauce. It's that time, final clear coat, shake for 2 minutes. Professional use only. 2-part paint contains stuff that you don't want to get caught not wearing a mask with. 2 minutes, take the red cap off. I've never done this before. You got a thing on the bottom and the cap goes here. It's like a secondary release. Then you want to shake it for another 2 minutes. All right, this is the fun part. We're gonna do a couple coats of this. Let's get to it. Just looking for a wet finish. Set timer for 8 minutes. Now we wait. All right, this should be the last coat. It's looking really good. Then I'm gonna let it dry for a full 24 hours. Then we can put the Brembo stickers on and dial it in. It's looking nice and wet. It's gonna look so clean. Running out of paint, perfect timing. Here's a little look. They're already really bright, but when I turn the lights off, stand out like sore thumbs. Perfect. See you guys tomorrow. It's been well over 24 hours. They look amazing. The clear came out so good. Now it's time for the best part. I think it goes this way. This is definitely one of those things that you can just overthink. I moved it that way a little bit. Looks pretty solid. Take a little heat to it. That'll always do the trick. Boom! Take my little rubber piece here. Looks amazing. Woohoo! We're only doing the front, so I'm gonna put the passenger side on. Laying down is the move. When I was able to view it like this, definitely is the easiest to apply. Take a step back, see if it looks weird. Looks pretty right. Dang, these things pop, that's for sure. Important step, clean towel, rubber gloves, and Cerakote's new professional ceramic coating. We have all the calipers clean. I'm gonna go ahead and install this, apply it. I'm gonna wet my applicator. I'm gonna do a nice coat on the fresh paint. Set timer for 5 minutes. Once this finishes, we'll dry it off. I did the other 3 calipers, just wiped it on the best I could without it having any runs. This little Twinkie is trash. It'll get hard from the ceramic coating. So if you're wondering why we apply this ceramic coating, adds UV resistance to the clear coat. So it's like a clear coat on top of a clear coat, prolonging the life of this paint job. And then it makes it basically impossible for brake dust to adhere to the surface. So it's much easier to clean. Simple as that. No other really major benefits. This stuff is great. Paint on anything, most materials. This is going to save you some time and energy in the cleaning process. In your day-to-day life, I'll have it linked in the description. These are great people. I've been to their business over in Oregon and gotten a tour. So I'm excited to keep working with them and use their product whenever I can. And this is a great creative way to do so. All right, I have my clean rag. It's been 5 minutes. I'm just gonna go wipe them all off. There's nothing to it, but you're just really just getting high spots on the whole thing. It's not gonna feel like you're doing anything, but you are. So you don't get any rainbow looking effects of kind of oversaturated ceramic coating. Now I'm gonna wipe off the other side and go in the same order because I know they're all dry. The next detail I'm excited about, editor Justin, can you throw some iPhone clips of the before on this side of the screen? Well, it doesn't look that great. So I had Matt over at Arizona Cerakote coat these with like a legacy type product. This is the type of Cerakote product that they originally had for all the firearm stuff, used on dirt bikes, custom builds. You can see it's a nice black finish. I even did for the next owner, whoever wants to buy this car, you can slide in my inbox. I have it linked in the description, my email. This is the key for the locking bolts. I got you. It sits in this little pouch inside the car, but it matches and it looks great. So I'll show you what these all look like up close, a little before and after. This is graphite black. Came out super nice, makes these look brand new, even better. Now for the best part, let's put the wheels on. There we go. Turn my handbrake back on. These just make life easier. In about 15 minutes, the lighting is perfect, so we can get the yellow DRLs with the calipers and the whole look. This thing has really come together. This is the great last touch. Looks good. If you haven't seen the video where we install the yellow DRLs, I'll leave that on the screen right here. And if you're interested in buying this car, hit my email in the description. Let's talk.